Hi, I'm Holly Deachman from Batavia Access Television, and today we are at Limestone Coffee House in downtown Batavia with Bev Nickelson. She is a local author that has written a novel called 3 Daves, and we're here to find out a little bit about her inspiration and how a local author becomes published. So we're going to start with a question about, I guess, how does a resident of Batavia become published? And we talked a little bit of the story about how the idea for your story came into a book. Share with our viewers a little bit of that story.
Okay, of how I finally got it all down?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the story probably had been in me, at least bits and pieces of it, for a long time. But, you know, no one really has time to write a novel.
Yeah.
So what happened was I had turned 40. I'd always kind of wanted to write it, but never really had the time. And I still didn't have the time, but I really don't even know what it was. Just wouldn't, you know, the story wouldn't leave me alone, so I just decided to start writing it and fitting it in, and, you know, here and there. And then there were times when I realized how much time it really does take to write something that's understandable and good. There were times when I thought about, I have to stop this. This is ridiculous. There's so many dishes in the sink and whatever. But, you know, I felt very, very sad whenever I thought of stopping, so I just didn't and gave up other hobbies and just kept writing, and then I had the book.
So you told me a little bit about how you really were a business writer on a financial side, not a novel or fiction writer.
Right.
So really it was kind of taking some of that experience and applying it to writing. But how do you switch gears like that from a boring topic of, you know, financial reports to, or annual reporting, to a fiction book that, you know, has so much passion about, like, the 80s and music and everything like that?
Well, I think how the financial or business writing helped me was, you know, one thing that was always pounded into me was this needs to be understandable to the clients.
Sure.
So for getting the message across and understandable to a reader. So as far as, you know, the passion or the creativity of the story, that part was kind of easy to just have. But to get it written down so that someone else would read it and feel and see the characters the same way that I wanted them to, I think that is where I learned a lot in the business world from that, because we would have to, you would sit there, write it, and then think from the client's perspective. How are they reading this? How are they going to understand this? And so that's how, I mean, I go through, that thing has been edited so many times just by me before even getting to publishing, to just think of it from the reader's point of view.
What's the setting? How did it come about? You know, I've read a lot of the book. I've also read a lot online about some of, you know, from your website, what your inspirations are and stuff like that. Tell our viewers a little bit about how Central Illinois University is the setting for this book, and the music and that throughout the story.
Okay, well, yeah, the setting is Central Illinois University, which is a fictional university, but it is based, anyone who went to Eastern Illinois University, especially back in the 80s, will know. They'll be able to pick out, you know, the buildings, the dorms, the bars, everything. And everything's renamed to something else, but I have clever little clues, like, well. So a lot of the reason I want to set it in the 80s was nostalgia for the time period. It was just fun. Plus, I did go to college in the 80s, and you just never quite get that time period back in your life. So a lot of it was that. Also because the story is about this girl going through these different relationships, you know, dating and different types of people. I don't know how to date today. I've taken a lot of research, which my husband may not have appreciated. But, you know, with Facebook and Twitter and all that, I would have been a big e-stalker of people. And, you know, this girl, like, there's one guy especially, she never knows really what's going on with him. He's not calling. And she has no way. In the 80s, we just didn't know what they were doing if they weren't calling or weren't right there. So, you know, that was kind of another reason to tell this story. I thought that era was a little bit more appropriate for the story to tell it.
Sure.
And also it was just fun, like the music too.
Yeah, and now the main character's name is Jen. Is she you? Is she someone you knew, or a mold of?
Yeah, she's a bunch of different conglomeration.
People.
Not, is that my camera there? Yeah. Yes, mother, not autobiographical at all. She is she's sort of the ultimate average girl is how I wanted to make her, so that readers could relate to her, you know, maybe not on everything, but on some part of her. And it did kind of drive, you know, so especially some of the girls I went to college with, crazy at first. And the whole first part of it, because it's so much Eastern's campus and things they remember and the music, they're trying to be like, well, who's that? Oh no, but she didn't do that. So there are little bits and pieces of real people that I knew, even people I didn't know in college, but it's all mixed, so that each character really is truly their own. You know, they're not based on any one person. They might have bits and pieces from real people I know, but sort of molded into, you know, somebody unique.
And now you are, speaking of trust, and talk a little bit about the three, there's obviously three Daves in this. Dave, David, and the Big D. What are some of the differences? What are their similarities? And why was Jen even talking with these guys to begin with? Oh,
okay. Well, David is, and in one interview a while back, they asked about the music, so I can kind of relate them to the music of the 80s. And David, he was more of the new wave guy, not easily defined. He's sort of a loner. He has friends, but you know, he's just sort of quiet. And they were friends. That's how her and David started out. You know, she met him through a mutual friend. And then Dave, who's the second to come along, he's the punk rock guy, and he's just kind of wild and exciting, and can never quite pin him down. And she just met him out, and is kind of learning about him as she goes along. And then Big D he's the fraternity guy, but kind of the all-American boy, and his music's a little more retro. He'll listen to some stuff from the 70s and classic rock, because he's just a little more classic. And she met him also when she was out at a party on a date with somebody else. It wasn't a good date.
Yeah.
And then he came along.
Central Illinois University is Eastern Illinois University. In the future, is there going to be a Batavia-esque town or setting for a future novel?
Well, I have the whole next one brewing here now. It's just all, again, matter of finding time to get it out. And it does happen to be set in the suburbs and modern times, and you know, probably wouldn't name names of exact towns, but yeah, it's
got the flavor of the...
And when I write physical places, like the University of Eastern, even the house there's a chapter in Galveston Island where they go down to this big house. And it was what I remembered of a trip to Galveston Island, at the house my family and I stayed at, because I don't know, for me that's just easier to picture something that I know. So I could see a lot of, you know, there might be a river going through the town, you know, things like that.
How can people from around here find more information about, like you said, your blog and that type of thing, and maybe book signings?
Okay, the best place to go would be my website, which is www.nickyelson.com. So NICKIELSON.com. I also have 3 Days by Nikki Elson, a Facebook page. That's a good place to go too, because it'll be on your feed whenever I add something new to the website. I'm always playing around, adding stuff there, or if I write a new blog or something, or if I'm going to be somewhere, all that goes right up on the Facebook. So if you fan me, that'd be cool. So yeah, I would say those are the two best places to keep up. And to get a copy of the book, it is at Amazon. Also, there's a link at my website to go buy it, or directly at omnificpublishing.com. And then locally, I have them here at Limestone Coffee and Tea in downtown Batavia, at Gibby's Wine Den, which is on the west side of Geneva off of Randall Road, and then also downtown Geneva at the Shishi lingerie store, which seemed appropriate for the book. I was very excited when they said I could sell it there.
Very, very good. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you, and there aren't many local authors from our area, so I was very happy to read the article about you and the Geneva Republican. I also have it posted here at Limestone. So thank you so much for spending the time with us today, and I hope that we'll be interviewing again about the book about the suburbs, right?
Yeah, the Batavia book. Yeah, that sounds good. Well, thank you so much.
Sure.